I am a believer that it's part of Tom Brady. He's got a chip on his shoulder. And I think Aaron Rodgers similarly has a little chip on his shoulder. And so he did a podcast, Aaron Rodgers did, with Fox Sports 1's Evan Daniels. And it's really interesting. First of all, I like the fact that Aaron was this authentic and upfront about it. He just talked about it. He talked about being overlooked in high school. Here's Aaron Rodgers with Evan Daniels.
I went to the University of Illinois team camp, and that was a big deal for me. I got MVP of the camp. They offered another kid in the camp, which was fine. I actually laughed with a couple coaches I know who were there at the time. I always felt like what separated me and continues to is just the stuff that you can't measure. That's what I felt like I excelled in. I overcame an injury my sophomore year in high school, which I felt like I was mentally tough. I felt like I had kind of that clutch gene, if you will, where I could make plays in high school when the time was running down. We had to have a drive late in the game. And, a lot of stuff that's stuck with me and allowed me to have some success in the NFL.
He also talked about how being overlooked motivated him.
I think it had a huge impact on me because I would go to the library, and this was back when we had the dial-up internet. I'd dial that thing up and look on Rivals.com, and I wasn't even on the top 100. I wasn't on the top 50 California quarter. I wasn't even an afterthought. So that motivated me because I remember thinking to myself as I was waking up at 5:30 going to work out before school, like, those guys aren't doing that right now. I'm going to catch up to these guys and pass these guys because they don't know what it feels like to be the hunters. And I had that strong desire to be great at a young age.
So here's what's interesting. Aaron was just sort of small in high school. He was like 5'10", 165 pounds. And to give you some perspective, I mean, you look at me, I'm 6'2", 196 as of this morning. So I was significantly bigger than Aaron Rodgers. Do I look like a pro athlete? I look tiny. But it's really funny. I went to a therapist one time, and a therapist said, we all tend to dramatize our childhood. We think it's worse than it is. And some people really, truly do have bad childhoods. But he goes, this is the way that it works in your brain works, is that maybe there's a bad moment and you make it into a bad year, a bad month, and that we tend to get things up on the Ferris wheel of our minds, and we over-dramatize. So Aaron has said, I was just overlooked and nobody respected me. But what's really funny is, if you go back and look at his life, he's been given a ton of respect. Think about this. One recruiting service, the one I use, 24/7 Sports, had him listed as a 3-star recruit and the 15th best player in California. Well, the 15th best player in California this year was Boss Tagaloa, who was the best defensive tackle prospect in California, and he's going to be a UCLA Bruin. So one of the recruiting services I use said he was the 15th best player in the state of California. That's a state with 200 players. He was 15th. He was also respected enough to be given a scholarship by Jeff Tedford, who was considered the pre-Chip Kelly Chip Kelly. He was the quarterback guru on the West Coast, Fresno State, Oregon, and Cal. He was then drafted in the first round. That's respect. And the Packers ultimately bailed on an all-time legend, Brett Favre, for Aaron Rodgers. So in Aaron's mind, he was disrespected. But the truth is, one recruiting service has him as the 15th best player in California. He got offered a Pac-12 scholarship by the quarterback guru of note in the conference. At the time, they were the second best program to USC in the conference. He got drafted in the first round, and the Packers bailed on all-time legend Brett Favre for Aaron Rodgers. And I would argue most of Aaron being overlooked was simply, guy was small. He was a late developer physically. He was 5'10", 165 pounds in high school. Well, hell, nobody gives a scholarship to a 5'10", 165-pound high school quarterback. I mean, that's what, like, University of Hawaii or, like, Western Oregon or a small school. You're not getting a Pac-12. So I could make the argument that Aaron's been shown nothing but respect, and I'm not being critical here. But in his mind, he has created this, man, I was overlooked. I can show you patterns where we have paid Aaron nothing but respect. He is now considered, despite Brady's accomplishments, the best quarterback talent in the game. Packers bailed on Favre. One recruiting service had him 15th best in California. The going quarterback guru in the Pac-12 throwing conference offered him a Scully. And it should be noted, by the time he left, he was an all-conference level player. I don't remember if he was second team or honorable mention, but the conference coaches voted on him. But in our mind, Aaron has built this up. Brady's done the same way. Brady went to Michigan. Michigan's amazing. Michigan offered him a scholarship. Brady's like, nobody likes me.